Hello everyone, and welcome to Chinese with Pei. In this video, we're going to discuss tones and go over some final topics to go over with the pinyin system in romanizing Mandarin Chinese. So let's get started right into that. So in the previous videos, we've gone over Juin and pinyin, and these have different tone marking systems, and so we're going to go over that. So these first ones you see over here, these are the tone markers for pinyin, and these are for Juin. And you might notice that there's 4 markers in each set, and each one's missing the other's mark. So anyway, with pinyin, so the first tone in pinyin is a horizontal line, and it's just E is how that tone sounds, just a high, even tone. The second tone, just like its picture, this rising action here, it's the same thing with the second tone. It's E, E. It's kind of like the English question inflection. In fact, it's not uncommon in Taiwan, for example, to hear someone just have an entire question and just the sound "oi." And so it's just that second tone, E, E, E. Now this is the third tone, and the third tone, it does have, it's a down, and then it kind of growls up. So it's E, E, E. So there's a little bit of an up. It's just kind of down, growls, and then comes up just a little bit at the end there. And then you have the fourth tone, which is E, E. And it's this downward stroke, just the opposite of the second tone, E. Now this is where the two systems get a little bit different, in that in Juin, there's no first tone marker. If there's no marker there, if you're using a Juin dictionary, assume it's the first tone. Now, in the Juin, they have a symbol for the fifth tone. Pinyin does not. Pinyin doesn't, because it's kind of argued whether or not it's actually a tone. It's also called the neutral tone, and it's just kind of a midway between this low of the 3 and this high of the 1. It's often, you'll not see it in words by themselves, or a syllable by itself. It's usually a syllable connected to other syllables. The easiest example of this is the word for dad in Mandarin. Baba, Baba. So it's the character is just repeated, and the character, strictly speaking, is a fourth tone, ba, Baba, Baba. And it's just kind of that second repetition, it goes into this fifth tone, which is not that sharp fourth tone, but it's also not a first tone, and so it's just kind of this in-between sound, this ba, baba, baba. And so that's kind of the basics of tones. So we'll go over a few tone rules now. These are just kind of things, the way the tones interact with each other. Don't be intimidated by this. It's actually fairly simple once you get practiced in it, and by the time you're through this playlist, you should be more than used to it. So it shouldn't be too bad. I wouldn't be discouraged. So the first rule is the interaction between 2 third tones. So again, that third tone is that E, E. So 2 third tones next to each other. The best example of this is the modern Chinese greeting, Ni Hao. That first character is technically Ni, a third tone, while the second character is Hao, also a third tone. But when it's put together as one word, it's Ni Hao. So that ni becomes a second tone, ni hao. Alright? Okay, so then the next rule that's kind of important is when a third tone is followed by a second tone. The tones will kind of meld together. So they'll kind of meld together into one tone. That's kind of the best way I've heard it explained was it's kind of like a Nike swoosh, where it just kind of has that kind of like that. And a good example of that would be ni lai, which is you come, like you come here. Ni lai. So you see it, ni lai. And the tone kind of melds together into this kind of a Nike swoosh kind of a sound. All right. Now the next few rules we're going to talk about, they're character specific rules as far as tones. So the character E, or the number 1, E. So technically by itself it's a first tone, but when it's followed by another first tone, a second tone, or a third tone, it acts like a fourth tone. A good example of this is like the phrase one day. It's not 一天, it's 一天. And it's only on that character E, that number 1. But if it's followed by a fourth tone, it takes on a second tone sound. So, say something's done at the same time. 一面, 一面. So it's that second rising, fourth dropping. 一面. Alright, and that's the kind of the rules for E. The second is the character 不, which means no. It's one of the several negation characters in Chinese, 不, where by itself it's a fourth tone. But when it interacts with other tones, it's not always a fourth tone. So, or rather, when it's followed by another fourth tone, it's not always a fourth tone. When it's followed by a fourth tone character, it becomes a second tone character. Good example of this is 不对, 不对. So it's a 不对, and 不对 is not correct, which is different than wrong in Chinese. But 不对, it's not 不对, it's 不对. All right. So that's just kind of the basic rules with tones in Chinese. A lot of people say it's the hard part about Chinese, and that's basically it. I've kind of covered tones now in about 8.5 minutes. Less than 8.5 minutes. So, but there's one more thing I want to go over in this video before we move on, and it's the use of the apostrophe in pinyin. Now, so this becomes necessary when you have a word like that's better. Xi'an. It's a city in central China. Xi'an. Now, in the pinyin, you write it X, I with the first tone, A with the first tone, and N. Now, the tone marker will always go in pinyin over the vowel, or over the primary vowel if it's a compound sound. Now, Xi'an, they'll write it and they'll put an apostrophe in there to signal that it's two different words. Which raises the question, well, couldn't we just assume that it is Two different words? You could if it weren't for words like this. Xian. And that's kind of where it becomes important. You have Xin and Xi'an. They're two different words. Xin means first. Xi'an is a city in central China. And you don't want to mix those up, you know. So that's what the apostrophe is used for. It's used to separate two syllables so that you know how to pronounce that. Alright? Well, I hope this video was useful, and if it was, hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe. And we'll see you next time on Chinese with Pei.